What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and the Kansas City Chiefs fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-28 in Jacksonville. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at this football game on paper, the Kansas City Chiefs actually look like they did pretty solid. They really played a phenomenal football game from a paper standpoint. There really were a lot of solid things to talk about from this football game. There was the offense that really seemed to be clicking in a lot of facets. The run game actually showed up, and I believe there was a total of 158 rushing yards. That does include, obviously, Patrick Mahomes running around. But the fact that there was some contribution from the run game is a positive thing. I really think the fact that Tyquan Thornton continues to be a significant deep threat and a pass option for Patrick Mahomes is a very positive thing, especially when he really did not contribute with the Patriots and he comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, works his way, and the guy is just absolutely showing out every time he steps on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs. There were a lot of positives, but in the end, there were some negatives that we're going to talk about. There's a lot of disappointment, I think, especially falling to this Jacksonville Jaguars team that I don't want to discredit. I do not want to discredit this Jacksonville Jaguars team, but I do not believe that they deserve this win tonight. They really did not play probably to the potential that they should have. Yes, they did get obviously some good things go their way, but I do believe that the Kansas City Chiefs were not 100% outplayed. I think there were more mistakes than they were actually being outplayed, and we'll discuss all that. So really, the first thing I want to kind of cover with this entire video is just really go through the scoring progressions. So the scoring actually started out with the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes would throw Travis Kelce a 2-yard pass, which would put them on the board 7-0. Obviously, Bucker would hit the PAT. And then that would immediately follow in the next up would be 14-0. That would be Patrick Mahomes' right end for 9 yards. He would run that football in, and that would put them up 14-0. Obviously, Bucker making the extra point. Now, there were some mental mistakes when it comes to penalties, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that through this video. But there were a lot of penalties that really kind of sustained and helped this next drive for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there was a huge mental mistake from Drue Tranquill and Nick Bolton on this drive. There was a bobbled. I think 4 defenders for the Kansas City Chiefs could have had an opportunity to actually intercept this ball. And it was almost like Drue Tranquill and Nick Bolton were playing volleyball. They were literally volleying the football back and forth to each other. That's how this went. And it eventually would hit the ground, which would lead to a Parker Washington 3-yard pass from Trevor Lawrence. And obviously Cam Little would add the extra point, making it 14-7. Now Trevor Lawrence would come out of the gate out of halftime, and he would continue to kind of have success with this offense. One of the things we really were seeing with Trevor Lawrence is him having the ability to run the football, which we'll talk about as well. Trevor Lawrence would run a touchdown in from 10 yards out that would put the score at 14-14. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs really took an opportunity to drive down the field, and it felt like they were kind of showing that dominant offense that we're used to seeing with these Kansas City Chiefs. And then, unfortunately, a huge mental mistake would happen as Patrick Mahomes would throw an interception to Devin Lloyd, who would return it, ladies and gentlemen, for 99 yards. And I think, granted, interceptions happen. There's 2 things that I really want to break down in this moment. It's the fact that, yet again, yes, I understand we were 4 of 5 in the red zone. That's great. But again, there is a mistake within the red zone that at some point cost this team, whether it's points or in this case, it could have cost them the game because it did force the Kansas City Chiefs to go down. They would go down 21-14 due to this interception. I think the other negative is the fact that it happened where it happened, but nobody could run down Devin Lloyd to tackle him for 99 yards. It's almost like, yes, the Jaguars were able to get out and they were able to block, but you're telling me that for as fast as some of the guys are on this offense, there's no way that they could run down a Devin Lloyd and tackle him before he would make it to the end zone. That's crazy to me. So the fact that that happened, I think, was one of the biggest mental mistakes so far in this game. Like I said, it would put the Kansas City Chiefs down 21-14. Although they would respond, Kareem Hunt would rush for a 5-yard touchdown that was coming off of a Trent McDuffie interception of Trevor Lawrence. A phenomenal play. There was a little bit of bumping, but Trent McDuffie was able to get the interception, and like I stated, Kareem Hunt was able to rush in from the 5 yards, tying this game up. Now, Cam Little would kick a field goal to respond. That would put the Jags up 24-21. And at this point, the Kansas City Chiefs would really kind of go on an extended drive, and it really kind of gave them the opportunity to drain the clock. By the time they would score, there was right around 1:45 left in the game, and Kareem Hunt would again rush in from 2 yards out, putting the Kansas City Chiefs up 28-24. Now, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, the way our defense has been playing, the success that our defense has had, it felt like this was the chance to just seal the game and get out of Jacksonville with a solid win. But then you have, again, mental mistakes. You have Harrison Butker, who decides to kick the football out of bounds on the kickoff. That literally is almost cutting the field in half for a team that it just drove right down within 1:45, had a timeout. And so the fact that they were able to do that, now they were able to get into the red zone, and this defense started to kind of have a stand. They started to really present an opportunity to hold this Jacksonville Jaguars team. And granted, again, the Jaguars were down by 4 points, so it's not like they could rely on a field goal. They needed to get into the end zone. There were more penalties. So on a clutch situation, Trevor Lawrence would look to the end zone, throw a pass, and of course, Shamari Connor would not be looking at receiving the football, and I believe it was Brian Thomas who was going up for the catch, and just clearly blatantly obvious pass interference, which would then put the ball on the 1-yard line for Trevor Lawrence. And again, it just seemed like there were so many mental mistakes. So in this situation, they're on the 1-yard line. Trevor Lawrence snaps the football almost like he trips over his own feet, is laying on the ground for this defensive front to literally just tackle him. And at no point did the pass rush get involved. I think he even stumbled a few more times as he rounded the corner. And if you're able to watch this play, Chris Jones, yes, the play peels off and goes to the complete opposite side of Chris Jones, but Chris Jones is nowhere involved in this play whatsoever. He completely takes himself out of the play. I don't know why that happened or what occurred to cause that, but Chris Jones completely took himself out of the play after he peels off. Trevor Lawrence peels off to the left side and would fall into the end zone, leaving roughly about 30 seconds on the clock for the Kansas City Chiefs. A market that never sleeps. One name rises above the rest. Lisa Miller from Dan Lynch Real Estate. Trusted by hundreds and recognized across the Midwest. She delivers results when it matters the most. With over 13 years of experience and licenses in both Kansas and Missouri, Lisa isn't just selling houses. She's helping you find a place to call home. Whether you are a first-time homebuyer, looking to upsize, or selling your current home, Lisa makes the process smooth and stress-free. As a local expert passionate about building lasting relationships, she ensures her clients feel confident and satisfied every step of the way. Don't wait, your perfect home is just a call away. Contact Lisa today at 913-579-3246 or 913-369-3000 or visit lisamillersaleskc.com. Let Lisa Miller at Lynch Real Estate help you start your next exciting chapter. And let her know the beat of KC, Lucas Murphy, sent you her way. We're going to really kind of start to break down, again, from the paper standpoint, how this team really looked. So the Kansas City Chiefs ran a total of 63 plays for 476 yards. That was 10 total drives for this team, and they averaged 7.6 yards per play. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, that's pretty phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. That is a solid showing. Patrick Mahomes was 29 of 41 for 318 passing yards, averaging 7.8 yards per pass. The big downside, I feel like, is we see games where Mahomes goes out there and he plays like he did against the Baltimore Ravens, has 4 touchdowns, is just astounding. And you have games like this where, if again you are watching this football game, Mahomes is pulling things out of a bag. He is a true magician when it comes to playing the quarterback position. There is a play where Patrick Mahomes is literally engulfed by the defensive front of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's pretty much a sack, and why the referees didn't blow the whistle, I could not tell you. But out of the abyss comes Patrick Mahomes, who's then able to run for a first down, ladies and gentlemen. The ability to kind of sense and play within the pocket, to really kind of dance within the pocket, is a special talent that Patrick Mahomes has that most do not have. It's incredible to watch. And so I would say, outside of the one mental mistake of throwing the interception on the 1 yard line, Patrick Mahomes again played a top-notch, phenomenal football game. He legitimately is having a phenomenal football season. I mean, he is playing out of his mind. So the Kansas City Chiefs would rush 22 times for 158 yards. They were averaging 7.2 on the ground. Now, I do want to explain that did account for Patrick Mahomes rushing 6 times for 60 yards. Patrick Mahomes did average 10 yards per carry, and he would rush in for 1 touchdown. On the other side, Kareem Hunt rushed 7 times for 49 yards, averaging 7 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns. Mind you, one of those rushes was for 33 yards. So if you really take that out, Kareem Hunt did not have a significant day. Yes, he absolutely rushed for 33 yards in one play. It was a phenomenal play. I mean, he was getting after it. I don't want to discredit that, but I'm saying if you take that one long drive away, he really didn't have an impact outside of that. Isaiah Pacheco again carried 7 times for 36 yards, averaged 5.1 yards per carry. His long was 16. We actually saw Isaiah Pacheco have a decent run of 16 yards. It was phenomenal to see. But again, outside of that, just not really a big contribution. Now, Xavier Worthy, 1 carry for 9 yards. And Brashard Smith, 1 carry for 4 yards. Again, totaling 158 yards on 22 carries. And they averaged 7.2 yards, and they would have 3 touchdowns on the ground. So they're able to kind of get some things going, but a lot of that was Patrick Mahomes, and really Kareem Hunt was able to get a lot of his touches within the red zone, and I believe the majority of those were within the 10-yard line, which would result in the 2 touchdowns. Now, the receiving, I think that's where I'm really excited to kind of talk about, because Tyquan Thornton, ladies and gentlemen, and again, I'm going to highlight him, the fact that he was targeted 5 times for 3 receptions for 90 yards. He bailed out this offense. Again, one play where he almost is like just dancing. I mean, he is literally dancing around the defender, makes a catch. That was the long of 34 yards. It was an incredible catch and really kind of sustained the drive. Travis Kelce would go 7 for 61 on 8 targets, averaging 8.7 for a touchdown. Kelce really kind of had a good showing, but disappeared when it came towards the end of the game. Hollywood Brown, 4 of 8, 48 yards, averaging 12 yards a carry. A really kind of a significant play was when obviously it was the final drive for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's almost like you're in Hail Mary mode, and Hollywood Brown is running down the field. Mahomes throws it to him, and he is not looking at all, and it bounces off the helmet. So just a miscommunication there. Xavier Worthy, 6 of 9, 42 yards, averaging 7. It definitely looked like the ankle was bothering him. He would come out for a few plays due to that ankle. So I'm kind of wondering, where we'll be with Xavier Worthy heading into the Detroit Lions game, especially with that ankle. Brashard Smith, ladies and gentlemen, contributing in the pass game. He was 3 of 3 for 32 yards, averaged 10.7. Really a huge play for Brashard Smith was a screenplay. It was like a makeshift screenplay on a significant second down. It was right after Hollywood Brown would get an unnecessary roughness for slapping one of the defenders in the face. Brashard Smith would get a huge chunk of that back, and I believe it was like 3rd and 9. It was a significant play for Brashard Smith. Isaiah Pacheco would catch 3 of 3 for 20 yards, averaging 6.7. Juju Smith-Schuster would catch 2 of 3 for 17. To wrap it out, Kareem Hunt 1 of 1 for 8 yards. Again, 318 yards through the air for this receiving core. Now, I kind of want to flip over to the other side of the football because, to be honest, I think it was a bigger disappointment from the defensive side of the football. Although the offense, there were a few times where they just did not capitalize and made way too many mistakes, way too many mental mistakes on the offensive side. I would say there was just as many penalties on the offensive side, if not more, than there were on the defensive side. But the defense, ladies and gentlemen, was led by Nick Bolton, totaling 12 total tackles, 7 solo tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection. That pass deflection is going to probably haunt him for a little bit because it was clearly a missed interception that would have completely turned the tide of this game. It would have gave the Chiefs an opportunity to go up 21-0 and really just didn't pan out the way it should have. Shamari Connor, obviously the next one up. He had 7 total tackles, 4 solo tackles. Again, a very blatant pass interference to put this team at a disadvantage, put the Jacksonville Jaguars on the 1-yard line, gave them ability to run in. Now, sacks. Guys, this is something that I just think is completely abysmal from this defense. We had Leo Chenal, who had a half a sack, George Karlaftis half a sack, and I believe Charles Omenihu had a sack, and Jalen Watson had a sack for a total of 3 sacks, ladies and gentlemen. That, when you have Jalen Watson getting a sack, and pretty much, to me, it was Drew Tranquill, but it looked like it was Leo Chenal. The fact that our defensive ends and D tackles cannot get to a quarterback whatsoever is going to be a problem. It is going to continue to be a problem, and that is why teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be interesting to really dissect and break down and talk about how they're going to really shape up against the Detroit Lions. And the reason I say that is because there is absolutely zero pass rush, just a general pass rush from your defensive front. They cannot, for the life of them, get to the quarterback. They cannot. It has to be a design blitz from Spags. It has to be a design blitz. That's the only way they're getting to him. Or it's the fact that the quarterback just randomly runs around the pocket for far too long, and it just gives them the opportunity to get a garbage sack. That's all it is. There's absolutely no opportunity for this defensive front to ever just rush the quarterback and get to him before he can make a decision. Trevor Lawrence had all the time in the world, and if he decided, hey, it's just not a good spot, he would run. And that's how it worked. They had a great game plan against the Baltimore Ravens. They were really able to scheme up and design some good reads on Lamar Jackson. They could not figure out Trevor Lawrence in this offensive line. They could not. And the fact that they just cannot use their defensive ends, who they paid significant amounts of dollars to in George Karlaftis, he cannot figure it out, ladies and gentlemen. You can't go 5 to 10 yards out of the play and expect to come back into the play every time and get a sack. That's just not how it works. You have to have more hand movement and be able to trick and get around the tackle you're going against. You can't just bull rush every single time and, again, get pushed 5 to 7 to 10 yards out of the play and expect that quarterback to step up and then fall right into your sack. Trevor Lawrence realized what was going on, and there's one time where George did that, got peeled out of the play, tried to run after him, and Trevor Lawrence is just faster than he is and just continues to go. George can't catch him. That's going to be a problem. We're going to be talking about this defensive front for the entire season. And even if they make the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen, which to me, we're going to have to wait and see. The AFC is wide open, and that's a whole nother video we're going to have. But the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs cannot get to a quarterback could really hinder and truly destroy their season because they just have no pass rushing capabilities. I can't tell you how many times, and there's so much that is involved into that. They go out and they sign guys. They go out and draft guys continuously year after year. Ashton Gelati, The list goes on. Omar Norman-Lott can't even make the starting team. He's on an inactive list. Whether it's an injury or not, he's on inactive. He can't participate. So the fact that you got guys like that who aren't contributing, you got guys like George Karlaftis who's getting paid top, good money from the Kansas City Chiefs, can't get to the quarterback. Chris Jones, his age is starting to show. He hasn't gotten to the quarterback. This is a massive problem for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it will continue to be a massive problem for the Kansas City Chiefs until they fix it. So we're going to kind of flip over to the other team. The Jacksonville Jaguars ran a total of 54 plays for 319 yards that only resulted in 9 drives, and they only averaged 5.9 yards per play. Now, Trevor Lawrence, who was celebrating his birthday, was 18 of 25 for 221 yards, averaging 8.8 yards per attempt. He threw 1 touchdown and had 1 key interception. Again, that was to Trent McDuffie, which resulted in a touchdown that would come off of Kareem Hunt. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 3 times for 11 yards. Which Trevor Lawrence was able to do was carry the football, ladies and gentlemen, and that's something we really highlighted. He was able to carry the football 10 times for 54 yards, in which he averaged 5.4 yards per carry and had 2 touchdowns on the ground, 1 which sealed the game. The Kansas City Chiefs were able to shut down Travis Etienne, who only rushed the football 12 times, 49 yards, and his longest attempt was for 8 yards. Going into this game, that was really one of the keys, was could this Kansas City Chiefs team shut down Travis Etienne? They were able to do it. They still came up short. And I think, again, one of the things I really want to highlight before I wrap this video up, when you look at the game on paper, again, it would scream that the Kansas City Chiefs won this game. It really would. If you took the score away, or maybe you just took the teams away, it would indicate that the Kansas City Chiefs won. And I think that's the biggest thing. But you have to watch the football game. You have to watch the mental mistakes that were done, and you would have to see how this game really transpired, especially to understand how the Jacksonville Jaguars really came out victorious. They have heart, ladies and gentlemen. This football team should not be underestimated. Now, will they get beat by some teams? Yes. They are not that great. They are a decent 4-1 team, but they are not a great football team. They're building momentum. They have a phenomenal coach. I have to give it to Liam Cohen. He's getting these guys rallied. He is getting them to play good football. I mean, he is. The guys should be praised there in Jacksonville. But again, the Kansas City Chiefs had 13 penalties, totaling 109 yards, with majority of those penalties coming in crucial situations. I don't ever want to hear people say that the Kansas City Chiefs get the laundry thrown for them all the time. Yeah, there was a few times in this game that were questionable. Touchdown to Travis Kelce, you have to go back and look. It is not pass interference. It is not a penalty. The rule will be posted in this video. It is within 1 yard. It is not a penalty. If you go back and look, the Kansas City Chiefs were out-penalized. They out-penalized the Jaguars 13 penalties to 109 yards. And majority of those penalties, again, came in crucial situations. The Kansas City Chiefs were in the red zone 5 times, converting 4 of those. So again, you would think, man, they had a lot of success. Granted, that one time that they did not have success was a Patrick Mahomes interception to Devin Lloyd, who would run it back for 99 yards and give them the lead. That is how this game went, ladies and gentlemen. The Kansas City Chiefs would fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-28. The Kansas City Chiefs would fall to 2-3 on the season, and the Jacksonville Jaguars would go to 4-1 and 3-0 at home. And the Kansas City Chiefs now are 3rd in the AFC West, behind the Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos, only leading the Las Vegas Raiders. I appreciate you guys checking out this long video. I really felt like we really needed to thoroughly go through a lot of this. This will be a huge talking point throughout the week, for sure. There's going to be a lot of things to talk about because the opponent that we are heading up against is tenfold tougher than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Granted, it will be a home game, but ladies and gentlemen, the Detroit Lions, they're coming. It is going to be a challenging football game. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys thought of this football game. Huge disappointment for sure. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you all checking out this video as always. And make sure you guys smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I end every video the exact same way. Have a good day.